Hey, Riddle here with Messy Morning Hair. I haven't given you a garden update in a while, and it's been such a interesting growing season, which started with me getting my tomatoes and peppers and things in the ground very, very late. Like other parts of the country, we experienced extreme heat like we never have before, which posed other challenges, which I'll point out to you in this tomato tour, though I may be doing this a little bit early. Hopefully you'll be able to connect the dots and understand what these tomatoes will look like when they're fully ripened, and I'll give you some of the background on some of my heirloom tomato collection. Now, I started with a big tomato collection this year. I usually do a big planting of tomatoes every other year, and then I can numerous amounts of different tomato products, everything from homemade barbecue sauce to different marinaras, because I have this incredible spice and herb collection. So I make my own Italian herb, which is pretty amazing. And I grew garlic this year, so I'll have my own homemade garlic in there. And I do some different masalas and some different canned Indian food recipes. Really, there's just so much you can do with tomatoes. Before you get overly fancy, though, and can too much, unless you have a large family, sometimes it's just a good idea, if you have super high quality tomatoes, just to can the stewed tomatoes, just to can the tomato sauce with no flavoring at all, because that is going to be the base for you to make anything you want to, any kind of Spanish rice or marinara, homemade ketchup, whatever. So if you're indecisive or you don't feel confident enough to, permanently choose, what you're going to turn your tomatoes into, that is a really good option. And I do both because I'm a pretty confident cook. So the heat was something else this year. And when you're planting, one of the things you have to think about, especially if you're planting in a pot or planting near a wall or planting close to a sidewalk or a driveway, is with this extreme heat that we're experiencing, you're going to have what I believe is the proper term, thermal dynamics going on. And we have to start thinking about this stuff because it can be a real problem. You've heard of a flash flood before. Well, we're experiencing something now called flash droughts. What a flash drought is when suddenly you get this extreme combination of sun, wind, heat, or just heat and sun, and it evaporates the soil so quickly that you don't have a chance to get it watered, or the plants don't really have a chance to prepare themselves for this sudden evaporation, this sudden heat. And when you plant, of course, like this garden is here, it's along the driveway here. So this asphalt is going to create a lot of extra heat. And when you're looking at temperatures like we've never seen before, hitting over 100 degrees, even when this soil is watered well, if you have this asphalt reaching extreme temperatures close to that wet soil, the water in the soil is actually going to boil. Not boil literally, but reach a temperature that is going to be very, very bad for the roots of the tomatoes. So in the future, even I did a heavy mulch this year, but I've been fighting with the chickens because I free range chickens on the property. And then at nighttime, the skunks and other animals come in and they just do this. They knock all of my hard work all over the place. And so now I'm having to go in with landscape fabric and try to pin it all down, which is working pretty well, but they're still even trying to get into that. So man versus nature, it's just this constant problem solving, constant battle, just trying to keep some vegetables alive. But that's the beautiful thing about gardening. I was talking to someone the other day and they're like, oh, that's probably such a nice hobby. It's not a hobby, kids. It's a discipline, because the majority of people I know that I gave tomato plants to this year all their plants are already dead because they didn't have the time or the focus or the commitment or the discipline to do what had to be done to keep them alive. But I still have, I'm going to have an amazing, I think, late crop of tomatoes, though even with my best efforts of trying to keep them consistently watered, I still got blight and keep them fed, but that's okay. I'll still have more than I need because I prepared for that. And I'm going to show you the different ways that I prepared for that because I know that I have certain animals that attack the tomatoes. I'm going to have a certain amount of disease. I'm going to have a certain amount of insects. I'm going to have all these elements. So I always plant more than what I need because then when I take a hit, it doesn't matter because I have a backup plan, which works really great for life also, to have a plan A, B, C. And it's been one of my successes. Never or rarely counting on one source, be that a source of income or when I need help from someone, never counting on any one source when you really need to get something done. Okay, let's get into some tomatoes here. So this one's going to be hard to see. You can kind of see it in the back. This is called a Chinese paste tomato. It's a long San Marzano type of tomato, and a paste tomato is one that has less water in it and less pulp, less seeds, because it's been designed as a hybrid from all of the best paste tomatoes from the Chinese. So it is a perfect tomato for canning and making sauces. It's literally like your Amish paste and a lot of other of the paste varieties. The tomato was literally designed over hundreds of years to be more dense and less watery so that you got a better flavor and thicker consistency with your marinaras and different things that you would can. So the Chinese paste tomatoes, I'm not sure how easy those are to find, but it's something that I grow every year. Here's another beautiful example of these, and they're rather large. You can see my hand behind it, but here's another really nice example of the Chinese paste tomatoes. You can see I got a lot of yellowing leaves. This blight this is often caused by, huge fluctuations or extreme stress when you get the temperature, too hot, too cold. Also, when you get weird, deformed tomatoes, when you get those really strange, like your tomato will have a little horn coming out of it or whatever, that's also nothing to be afraid of. That's just a sign that it was stressed out, usually from super hot days, followed by cold days, followed by hot days. It's just something that happens. We have a caterpillar somewhere in here that is just going to town. Look at all the leaves are gone from this. It is going nuts. But tomatoes still growing, and we usually have an Indian summer in October, so this tomato is probably gonna reach all the way to the top of this 8-foot cage. Cages, I just buy construction wire. It's the cheapest and it's the strongest. It'll hold up forever, like forever. I like it because it rusts and so it blends into the background. And look, you can, like, this 8-foot tube is so ample for your average healthy tomato, though sometimes it will exceed that. I find that to be a good safe bet to keep it around that height because, Lord, would you want any taller? You're gonna have to use a ladder to harvest your tomatoes then. Oh, guess what? I'm not sure which ones these are. These may be my yellow Ukrainian, or they may be another paste tomato. So I think I've made a mistake, actually. The tomatoes I was showing you over there, I believe, were Polish heirlooms. I picked up those seeds when I was in Europe. These are actually the Chinese paste, and I know these are the Chinese paste because they have these, they're pointed instead of rounded like those tomatoes were. Aren't they beautiful tomatoes though? I had one ripe in the house, but I already ate it. The thing about these paste tomatoes, they don't make a ton of tomatoes. I keep saying potatoes. Oh, there it is, look. Holy moly. That's the monster that's eating everything. Oh, sorry, Mr. Hornworm. You may have to be fed to some chickens. I need to look closer over here and see if I can find it on here now that I found this one. Isn't it beautiful, though? Man, what a gorgeous design. Okay, well, that's one that's not going to finish eating these. You're probably asking, like, well, why can't you just look at the labels to know what these tomatoes were? Well, I can't look at the labels because all the labels I put in here were dug out and destroyed by gophers. This happens. This happens, it happens, it happens. So now I'm literally having to wait till things ripen to know what the heck they are, because I have such a huge collection of stuff. Yeah, it's frustrating. This year, the gophers were doing this new thing. What they were doing, even though all of these tomatoes are in baskets, they were sneaking over the chicken wire and biting off the plants at the stem, at the soil line. So I had these beautiful vines. I had twice as much of this. And every day I'd come out and there'd be just the entire length of the tomato dead, just cut off at the ground. Like, it's so stupid. And the gophers, oh my gosh. So that's why I wrap tinfoil around the base of all the tomatoes, because that is great at deterring them. Here is a beautiful heirloom, and I believe one of the only and one of the few true black tomatoes. It's called a black beauty. Many of the black tomatoes come from Russia and that part of the country. I mean, that part of the world. And if you buy seeds for these black beauties, you will not be disappointed, because they have an incredible flavor and they're just beautiful, because they will go from jet black, and you know when they're ripe, it's a little tricky, but they make it just a couple stripes of this deep scarlet, and that's when you know they're soft and ready to be picked. Oh, and here's another problem. Woof. It has been a tough year, kids. We have been bombarded by everything, from ground and from air and from sea. I still need to find the caterpillar. Oh, there it is. Jeez Louise. Oh, there's another one. Man, it's crazy this morning. I'm just gonna pile them up over here and feed them to the chickens, I think. Let it go all the way around. Here's another one. Damn, they're doing a lot of damage. Caterpillar orgy. Okay, this is a zebra tomato, a green striped zebra. That's about ripe and ready to be picked. It's a beautiful, beautiful tomato. This little tomato I highly recommend, and it grows really well in a pot. This one's not fully ripe, but this is called a violet jasper. And they're very prolific. They make quite a few small to medium size, very beautifully colored tomatoes. Beans, beans, beans. So I like this French variety of vining bean, and I've saved these seeds for several years in a row now. And one plant just gives you hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of beans. And yeah, so love that particular bean. So, you know, you should always save your own seeds, because you'll save so much money. And if you love a particular vegetable, you know, why not just keep your own seeds? With beans, you have to literally just leave one of the pods or several of the pods from different plants on the vine until it dries, like until it starts turning a yellow brown. Then you pick it off and dry the beans, take them out of the pod and dry them thoroughly before you put them in a Ziploc bag with a little silica packet. And then you can plant those the next year and have beans forever and ever and ever. So here's, oh, look at some bastard came in here and just took a bite of this. So this is a sign. See this weird deformity on these tomatoes? This is a sign that the soil got too hot. And I don't even know which tomato this is. I really apologize. You'd think there'd be just at least one label left, but they were so destructive, the gophers and rabbits and everything this year. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with this tomato, because I can't tell what the heck it is. But look, something came up in here, just chewing, just biting that up. At least I can feed those to the chickens, because I hate wasting. Got some beautiful bell peppers forming. So usually I have trouble, because we're usually cool here in Santa Cruz, growing peppers. But because of the one benefit of the extreme heat this year is that my peppers did amazing for a change. All kinds of peppers. These tomatoes are called Queen of the Night. And I'm gonna have to do another video about these, because they're black and orange and they're beautiful when they ripen. But I haven't gotten a ripe one yet, and these were given to me by a friend this year. But did give someone to a neighbor though, and she got her tomatoes in several weeks before me, and she sent me some photos of these Queen of the Nights, and man, she said not only were they beautiful, but also really, really tasty. These are all ground cherries, Aunt Molly ground cherries. It's a really underrated and lesser known fruit. It's in the same family, the nightshade family, as tomatoes and peppers. And the nice thing is, this paper shell protects the berries from the insects and from the birds. And the reason they call it ground cherry is because when it's ripe, it falls off onto the ground. And the flavor of these little berries, it's difficult to describe. It's both sweet and savory, but it has a low sugar content and a really high vitamin content. These you can add to your different salsas when you make them. They're great raw in a salad. Some people make jellies and jams from them. I also integrate them into my, I integrate them with the tomatillos when I do my verde, and it just adds this extra something that people can't figure out. So good. Going down the line, this was a trendy tomato this year called a tomberry. Now the tomberry is supposed to be a small, currant sized and currant shaped tomato. It's supposed to be one of the original tomatoes, where all tomatoes came from before they were hybridized to turned into the large and exotic varieties that we see today. But I think this tomberry seed mixed with some type of pear tomato or a grape tomato. And so I got red ones and I have these yellow ones, and they're not round at all. They're this grape-shaped yellow tomato, and they're tiny, which is a novelty. Like they're tasty and they're cute. Would I grow tomberries again, considering that they didn't stay true, which means these will probably mix again and turn into another kind of tomato with even a thicker skin? Nah, I think the tomberries are more a novelty than anything else. You can always tell when a tomato is what they call an F1, because when they do change form, not only will they be a strange color or a strange shape like these, because they're supposed to be round, but the skin will be extra thick, and that's not a good thing with a tomato. And the whole purpose of growing heirlooms is that you're not buying the grocery store quality thick skin tomatoes, right? Look at these. So this is a Peruvian heirloom. There's a couple different names for them, but if you Google Peruvian heirloom tomato, you will see these. And these are very, very saucy tomatoes, and they're crazy looking. What's fun is when they're ripe, you can break these off in sections. And again, this is making a lot of tomatoes, but usually one plant doesn't make a ton of tomatoes. It's just more of one of those novelties. It's something that no one else has, so I like to grow a couple every year and just keep the seeds going. Here's another beautiful black tomato you can see in here. I don't know what this one is, but it looks like it's some kind of ox heart because of the shape of it. But I don't know, because again, animals took my tag. I have to wait for the color to come through. But see this? This is bad. That's sun scorch. So that was caused because the heat just got too intense from the sun. And didn't get out here and spray these with my plant suntan lotion soon enough. And so they literally got scalded. They baked on the vine. And this is when you know things aren't quite right with the natural world, when stuff like that happens, especially when you live in our climate, which that's not normal. These are all bags of potatoes. These are all varieties of like some of the original South American potatoes, because I believe almost all potatoes came from the Andes Mountains and South America, and then were slowly, again, changed to meet human consumption. But I wanted like a really great mixture of potatoes, because when we have a potato disease come through, these may be resistant to that. So when everyone else's potatoes die, my potatoes will keep going. But there's Colombian and potatoes from the Andes and sweet potatoes. So these are just sweet potatoes that I bought from the grocery store and planted. You can see them right there, these beauties. And the thing is that people don't know is you can eat the vines. They actually sell the vines in bundles at the Chinese grocery store. And when they're tender, you can stir fry them, and they're full of nutrition. And there's tons of different vegetables that people have no idea that they're edible. Did you know that peas, not just the pea pods, but the pea vines, are delicious and full of the same nutrition the peas have, maybe a little less protein, but you can cut off some of the tender shoots, the tips, and stir fry those lightly, and they taste just like pea pods. So these are white cherry tomatoes. It's a yellow variety that tends to turn a more white or pale color once they're ripe. These are my favorite green cherry tomatoes, and one of my subscribers had written that they were afraid these green tomatoes were, in the nightshade family, and they might have toxins in them. But this is not a raw tomato. When they get this blush color and you touch them and they just kind of pop off, they're ripe. And if I could only grow one tomato, it would be this heirloom green cherry tomato, because not only is the plant hyper prolific, and we'll probably be making tomatoes up into November if the weather cooperates, or if I wrap a little plastic around this, but the flavor of these green cherry tomatoes is smoky and rich. And I gave one to someone the other day that hasn't had a lot of heirloom tomatoes before, and they literally said it was like having a cheeseburger, which is a slight exaggeration, but compared to the horrible taste of the grocery store tomatoes, I'm sure that it was quite, delicious and seductive to him to try for the first time. But this green cherry tomatoes, they're really hard to find the seeds for, but if you can find them, get them, because they're a real winner and easy to grow in pots and easy to grow anywhere. You can see, look at that. This fence is 7 feet tall, and it's climbing over the fence already. Moving down. I believe these are my black Russian cherries. None are ripe yet, but I can tell they're the black Russians because they're large for cherry tomatoes, and the way they're forming in these bundles. It's going to be like the color of a black Cherokee heirloom, but the flavor, the sweet in these is just insane. Here's some big monster ass tomatoes. Don't know what these are yet. Again, they stole my tags, and I just have to wait and see, but at least they're forming beautiful, and I'm getting some nice bundles and bundles. Don't know what these are yet. Here's some more of those beautiful violet jaspers forming, more of the black beauties. You can tell I really like the black beauties. I did quite a few of them. Oh, here's another green cherry tomato. Lovely. The flavor, you just can't imagine the flavor of these. But notice that unusual color. The first year I grew them, I couldn't tell they were ripe, and they were falling on the ground and rotting, because I had to learn like when to identify when they were, they were ripe. Oh, these are starting to get closer to ripe. These are those Queen of the Night tomatoes that are black on top, and then they're going to form these orangey yellow kind of striped base. Those are going to be magnificent. Again, I think these are pink Japanese, but I don't know because the darn tags got stolen. Oh, this is a really neat variety and great for heat if you live somewhere that it gets super, super hot. This is called a pink Mexican rib, or I want to say zapote, maybe. But this will turn into a beautiful pink tomato, pink and green with these deep ridges, and all the pink tomatoes are always very, very sweet, but this is a great variety to have. These aren't doing so great. These are Hami melons, which is a big Asian melon, but they were attacked. A lot of these, I got little pumpkins going on here, and this and that, more beans, honey melon, muskmelon, watermelons, but they're all very, very late. And again, I've just been fighting those gophers and other animals just to get anything. We also have, oh, this is the beginning. This is all together, but this is the beginning of a loofah sponge where this flower is. Looks like I'm gonna get 1 or 2 loofahs. Again, loofah sponges, they grow on a vine. They don't come from the ocean. And they like humidity, so they don't do really well here, but it's also a Chinese vegetable that people don't know about, that you can pick them when they're really young, and they're very similar texture and taste to okra, if you like okra. I know a lot of people have problems with textured things. I have a lot of friends that don't like slimy anything. So along here, that was my main attempt at growing a big variety of some of my favorite tomatoes. But you know how you always, when you start your own seeds, you always have leftovers, and I wanted to give a bunch away, but people didn't come and pick them up, and you know how ridiculous people are anymore. So I had all these little babies that were just dying in their little cups because they had become root bound and they'd overgrown their containers. Oh, the sun's coming out. The heat's starting. We had such a beautiful marine layer going well into the morning. But I took those baby tomatoes because I just couldn't bring myself to throw them away. And I just buried them in these wine barrels along with the roses, just thinking, oh, if they live, they live. If they die, they die. And what's funny is this is probably going to be my most successful crop of late season tomatoes. Look at how beautiful these are coming up. I'm guessing that this is the French La Flamme tomato. Look at this beauty. That is a healthy tomato plant. I'm gonna have to keep my eye out so those caterpillars don't get to it and do to this what they did to the other one. I have no idea what it is because I didn't expect them to live. And then I have these in here. Look at these beauties. This is an amazing heirloom tomato called a black Japanese trifle. And it's a pear-shaped tomato that's going to get substantially larger, and then it's going to turn, how do you describe it? Reddish, brownish, bluish color, kind of like a Cherokee tomato. It's a wonderful variety, and you can tell it's a little bit different than the other tomatoes by the pointiness, the shapes of the leaves. So healthy. Such a good canning and eating tomato, the black Japanese trifle. So I have the success of these, and then I popped a couple just for sport out here in the herb garden, and I got to get a basket put on this because it's sprawling. This is a purple tomato, or a blue tomato, which a friend gave me from Ohio. Holy moly, look at that. Isn't it beautiful? Now, so those are 2 tomatoes I can say are actually true to color. You have your black, you have your Queen of the Nights, which have the black and orange. You have your black beauties, which are truly black that you saw over here. And these are actual purple tomatoes. They try to say they're blue, but they're actually more purple. And I got to get this in a basket because I am basically just asking the animals and rats and stuff to come along and eat that. And then one more place that I planted tomatoes, which you might be inspired by this idea. And then we're going to wrap up this video. last year, these tomatoes came up. They were just volunteers. So I had these, again, these are those incredible green cherry tomatoes. And look at them just taking over. And these were just dropped tomatoes that rooted, you know, they germinated behind the planter box, and now they're going to be giant. So I got to get those hiked up, and look at all full of tomatoes already. It's kind of fun because you could do a green salsa that would actually be made from tomatoes, and people would be like, doesn't taste like tomatillo. It'd be very mysterious. So here's the last place that I planted tomatoes. This is an 8-foot cage made of construction wire. I also had to put the construction wire on the bottom of it because the first year when I started, I was growing potatoes, like a potato tower. And what I do, I throw all my weeds and garbage in here. Not garbage literally, but decomposing garbage, spent coffee grounds, you know, vegetables, rotten vegetables, cardboard, paper of different sorts. And then this cage has just been getting slowly filled and breaking down. And then I just shoved my tomato plants into the sides of my potato tower. The potatoes were wiped out by those damn chickens. That's why I just got this fence put around here. But the tomatoes are thriving, as you can see. There's some Mr. Stripies I can identify here in the corner, which is a really fun, delicious, elongated, striped heirloom tomato. And some of the other ones I have no idea. I know I definitely put some French La Flame tomatoes in there, but it goes all the way around where I just shoved the plants in to the sides through the wire, and made sure that they was making good contact with the soil. And now this decomposing worm farm / potato farm is now also a tomato farm. Uh-oh, I see some evidence that we have a hornworm in there. I'm gonna have to climb in and get that sucker. Okay, I think I'm gonna conclude that, showing you all the different ways and different places you can plant your tomatoes to guarantee that you have a good tomato crop. One thing that people often don't know, I'm going to conclude the video with this bit of advice. So technically you're not supposed to plant vegetables, but especially nightshades, tomatoes, in the same place every year. They are prone through nature to get different funguses, and different bacteria build up, and then the next year, if you try to plant tomatoes in that same place, right away you're going to experience unhealthy tomatoes, blight, and things like that. So technically you're supposed to give it a couple years in between planting in the same place, especially with tomatoes. I usually do it kind of every other year, and then just treat my soil with a nice amount of baking soda, which helps with killing the powdery mildew and raising the acidity a little bit to kill some of the other funguses in the soil. All right, there's your tomato tour for mid-September. If you like my quick money-saving tips, garden wisdom, rants, raves, and occasional magic, please subscribe, share, and like. It helps. Bye.